Jo Acholi. Welcome to Chaka Leb Acholi. My name is Jackline Ikang. I'm recording from a different angle today. It's a busy Saturday. In a bit of a rush, like I'm Kwan, what I promised a couple of days ago, which is basically to conclude reading on all of the chiefs Mundung, the Abong, Emilio Obol, Wayne. Before I done, you look more about Obbo. Okay. One Chaka Leb Acholi. Please join. Segment me Kwan Leb Acholi. We are on Facebook as Chaka Leb Acholi, and we are also on YouTube as Chaka Leb Acholi. Segment enemy Kwan Leb Acholi need tier within Chaka Leb Acholi. And Jackline Ikang, like in my official Facebook, I've been out here posting content here as Chaka Ikang, South Sudan. And I'm also on TikTok here posting snippets. The Chaka Ikang dash South Sudan. I'm not going to spend too much time on doing reflection about what we have read so far up to this point. Please watch previous videos for those. Okay, as you know, I've been talking about Jo Obbo ruling by Jo Abong. We divide between Abbo a tweet, Abbo gonna Obbo a cham. Piana Buddha and Jo Obbo the Gidum Kakat, well to Gidum, Ngom territory, and Dum, located when Dum Guinea. Or Podo Ia Rayo, Okero, Omine, deputy, Onyala on one side, and a ruling on the other side. Okay? That's why about the cham get tweet. But the rule, the chiefdom when my lawyer came here about when you're a bomb. Chiefdom, you know, being a bomb. In my better color, okay? I better talk about rule in Wang lineage in Pajua Bong. Magi Chaka Kedi Tirangori, Capoeira, Kujo, two of you know, the pink. You know, Jo Acholi, Jo Obbo, territory in the present day of Obbo. People can get Kuja, get where I get in a king, actually, Kinyo, actually, Pole, the Mogino, Jo Pajok, Near Pajok, Nyo Mare. One and longing of Aburi Pole, Onyo Monmi Obbo. Excuse me. If I'm delayed, excuse me, please. Connection back at Tinko, but I want to have Kwan so we can get moving because book and did my right. Hapo my tech. So Aburi Polo Nyom Jomi Obbo. Onyala Benelotini Madong Nyomona Bongwan, Jalwone. I cannot tell Bonyal. When I name my British have been in 1914, can you keep any power until long? Give move nga, give move gonna look me chiefdom, traditional chiefdom. Give establish ngani LGCC Torit, local government center, can me okay, so they can have control. Jo give me the Jumalo Lemono, my served or gatekeepers in the community. King Ebra Lemon Conyo, we tackle remove in your kind many chief, Lobolina Boli Sigin, King Mabu Binero, get a bit of Bolo, Aburi Gay Sigin, Vitto Gay Sigin, Nanga Gay Sigin, Habarai Gay Sigin, Dano Betty Sigin, Marach, but your British Gikelo Wigera. Gena Kai get a name in your local to remove in your current Sigin. Kidma Buddha better put it traditional chief, we call Kemi Obbo. Water Guinea, or better pointing into road Guinea, the Obbo. Last session, I Chief Mathia Lolori, Kidma, and okay, any ballot against Uncle Jeremiah. 'Cause Jeremiah 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 ' Acholi yala Jeremiah, Mathia lakini the youth of Obbo didn't like Mathia. Mathia had a bit strict or fight crime attack. Look me again and Maracon acquire look knowing will acquire hard the bomb mungkin jigni ero. Mathia no my agenda of the British. Instead the Twingiti como Chilo Latin money number 7 will gonna meet that one you'll get down me a beer or something like this. Okay. Down me a beer down me a board or Chilo. About me I think they'll give favor the road card. Neil card, child one grandfather gave great grandfather ancestors better. Like one and the British don't care about that. Nico Kalamfa could have two pushing chief. That has nothing to do with us. One put what they are governed one mama lawyer one more appointing a mama miro. Can report it was gamawa miro yala ka make sure we are paying tax. So Aburo be the traditional chief, lakin he was disregarded by the British. Gikero Mathia Lolori. Kongikero Vitto Manokero Mathia Lolori. After Mathia Lolori, one nano kanying on it. Chaka kero glutino abong lakin after that wabinena dong ningani after Mathia Lolori bita because giga alternate omero glutino Aburi at some point no matter Mathia be doctor ho chin kala ke obita o chaka kero Jo Loudo. That's the first time one in the Loudo dong gicha bino ike mi Obbo mi lo ke mi Obbo. After dong on then running on it, Latini Aburi Guinea, use Gina Hodon, each our chair and Loudo. Yeah, Rudigi Loudo. Okay, now traditionally, cousin to her, me actually, chiefdom only Binogi family a chill. You might be very chief, Laquanian family a chill, lineage a chill. My British have been and give me law, can I custom in her. At some point, give law don't give come up to Abong. Gila to chiefdom bot Loudo. Kono Loudo young and Gimaka Keko. Okay? So okay. Atiro Kwana Mathia Lolori. Mandong Amira Donyo Kidma Turbuzio Mon okay. After Kwanya Mathia Lolori. Kwanya Mathia Lolori okay Turbuzio. Okay? Mana Kwana Gikan, Leb Acholi. Kadong Adonyo Kere Gikenyuma Yurnere. A common or doing ko pien chape. A kwana about Turbuzio mon. Ka kwana about Vitto Aburi or bidwa ko ike. Emilio cho kanye Emilio la ke between Mohango a par bongwen. Gi Piera Birwa beach. We a par bongwen gi Piera Birwa biro. Mohari keken. Lakin information la choj bocho of cho meron lo ke Mohari moon information mo don't pay. It's just empty. Jimo pay kenyo. After Emilio Maria Erengo, a dog Mathia Aburi Lolori. Ike from Mohangani, a par bongwengi Piera Bira we bichel. We a par bongwengi Piera Boro we biro. I don't know. Did I say that right? Okay, from Ngani, a par bongwengi Piera Bira we bichel. We a par bongwengi Piera Boro we biro. Okay. So 11 years, Abura doctor after Emilio bit Mohari again. Okay, yala. Mathia dogo nana bi timama be obedo ke para. Remember at this time what team wonyo anyanya two bi poro. Kong anyanya one what be peace for 10 years. Kadong wadon anyanya 2 1983 ni. At this time, no Mathia Aburi Lolori came out on your anyanya too. Okay? Again, anyanya too, can you know? Paha British, you know, made it what gig look man, we chief them, huh? Giquardo. Okay? At that point, okay, Joseph Atira. Okay? Up until 2002. And then there was a brief period where Chief Guinea Pera, okay, Boke Dan Ken, what he moon, look more me piece of court here at Time. And British, they were more focused on that as opposed to appointing chiefs. So from 2002 to 2005, Boge appoint na more. 2005, okay, Benjamin Obol in 2005. Munu no what signed CPA, peace agreement between the government of Sudan and SPLA. Okay? Okay, Benjamin Obol in 2005. Okay? I wonder why they would still put Benjamin Obol in 2005. Is it because putting in what transitional period? Munu gima bi kwana kon cha no pe ira mi kwana look me kinma Benjamin Obol kere ke munu jalmi Loudo Latin Loudo. Okay, Loudo put it the above. Lakin chiefdom comes from the side of Abong. So we'll find out later how why the British selected Benjamin Obol. Amir cha kwana Jo eni ma ocho pinkanye lotini Abong eni Chief Turbuzio mon Chief Aburi kinmodo kerike Emilio Ojum gimo bocho ye eno ke muhari nge Vitto do kado nge Emilio ker Mathia Chief Mathia before Adonye kede Joseph Otira. I'm more interested in reading about Joseph Otira, lakin it seems like Joseph Otira paragraph a chill can matiri bes. I don't know if anybody didn't know about chiefdom for Joseph Otira. Joseph Otira, please drop your comments. Okay, I would like to get more information about that. Maybe I think Auntie Para. If I can find the information. Apo amatek. So we're at Kwan, na yo. Lacheju chane ngokanye section mingo Turbuzio omon oloyo ke moha apar bongwen gi piera beach wa beach we apar bongwen gi piera beach wa beachel moha apar bongwen gi piera beach wa beach we call there's a loud ambulance fire truck passing by. Live on such a busy street, guys. Moha apar bongwen gi piera beach wa beach idwe mi aboro muonyo chare ikin lo muony pa gamente igang muony mi Torit ka la chien oket ingomi Equatoria duchu. Okay, all Equatorian provinces ma ara ma pol oruenyo kwa megi. Okay, imwaha apar bongwan gi piera beach we beach onongo benetie la chat mi Arab achiel migi luongo Tahir I Obbo. Ikarma Tahir oneno ni piny dong tie marach eno ringo okano kome igang paruot Mathia I Alia. Okay. Ogwoko la chat man dong I ot ma tie malo iwi ot paruot ma ogero gi tangula. Drop your comments ka Kwan munu mabe tangula nengoni. Ot ko ogero gi tangula lo gero ni ningi. Lok mi kane paja nyola Arab man oyuek ikindano mi Obbo ma weho ada nino mo achiel Natalino Oquir mi pa pokongo gi Francesco wotpa alil mi pokongo gino bino gi mutukari igang pa ruot ento ichawa man ruot Mathia onongo pere gang Francesco dong openyo dano Mathia gang kenyu ni gin miero omila chad man bore en miro nego kawang omine ma Arab onego I Juba. Okay, dano Mathia kenyu dong owajo bot Francesco ni ma en bene obedo Latin pa ruot mi pokongo ni miero en bene onge mabe ni chik kwara pachuli okwere ni dano ma oringo igang pa ruot pedong gi goyo nyo gi nego. Okay? Natalino, gi Francesco, pe omiro winyo lok padano man, gindong, ologo gi duan mage, ni ka pe omio jalal Arab man, botgi, gintuero chelo, ngad mo keken matie igang kenyu. Okay? Logmano kelo luor madiri twin dano matie igang parruot, Mathia mana ye gin ma oweko gin okelo Tahir omio bot Francisco gi Natalino. Okay? Lotino cho ario man ikarma kum ja la Arab mano op ichingi gitero chien manok ma romo yad Piera Beach kagi chielo wako. Okay? Manok kany lok mi topa la chat mi Arab dano mokene otero bot gamente. Inge neno ario ne nyo adek gamente ochwalo lo tich bot Ruth Mathia. Malo tich pagamente obino, gino nungo Ruth Mathia benetie gang, ka gi wajo bot Ruth, gi dan mokene, ni, lok maraj pere, pi man dano pe miero obed gi luoro. Inge lok gi luak lo tich pagamente, odog kabedo megi, ento gi odiro mokene lo tich pagamente oduoro. Ka mako dano I Obbo. Okay. Luak mao neno ni lo tich pagamente dong tie ka mako dano mapol gino waje bot Ruth Mathia. Weko ring wako pien I agigi lo tich pagamente bimahe. Ruth Mathia unyo lo par luak eno ringo igulu Uganda. Inge ma Ruth Mathia ringo wako I Uganda luak mi Obbo odong la bongo Ruth. Okay? Kid ma ke mi Ruth I lobo bo dano bene pe mako ata. Ada luak oyero Turbuzio mon omin Mathia Lolori obedo Ruth Obbo. Ruth Turbuzio mon omaka luak pi mwaka ario keken. Mwaka apara bong wen gi Piera Beach wa beach. We apara bong wen gi Piera Beach wa bichel. Manok kany luako nongo ni Ruth Turbuzio petwer teach gidano mabe. Okay? This is a reason why Kidi Kot my yero Ruth. PNT is spiritual in nature. Kidi Kot ngeo nga matwer loyo ke. It were pointing down attack. So Juman will get Kirgin the road lapon Kidi Kot, it will not work. So Kiro to Bruce Mohari can twire ko ben loke. Lock me a boat chwala doan gi bot lo diro kahane gin miro road manyin. Okay? So only 2 years to boost your mon a temo. Loyo Mathia lo like in twerko. So magi chwala doan gi miro road mokene. Okay nga a dog Vitto. Lo twere no dog Mathia cause Mathia ringa ho Uganda tia kana Uganda gament tia yinyelo miro negone pien. Lugmani o nego jaara mo gang per lakin ena kwero lo ke hane. So tia kane. So dog mina Vitto. So man ngodong section e kab ni Vitto Aburi Lolori ke moka apar bongwen gi Piera Beach wa biro we apar bongwen gi Piera biro wa beach. Okay? So imoka apar bongwen gi Piera Beach wa biro luako noni tich par Ruth Turbuzio pe woro mabe kid man luak miro pi man gino penyo gamente weko ye Ruth manyien gamente ma unyo ko pa luak oje bod gini gin miro tim ye atie ikin Vitto gi Emilio Ojum ma en bene onong tie karan nyo la church pa Vitto. Okay. Ikarma bol kuyo tum, luak mi Obbo, nongo ni Emilio Ojum ye ma oloyo queer. Te kwara pa Obbo wacho ni Lokman okelo nguru ikindano pien jo mokene onongo pe ng'eyo ni Emilio Ojum bene Latino Abong. Okay? Kari bed kidman gamente okero Rod Emilio ike. Rod Emilio Ojum pe obedo Latina Abong ma idok ot pa abarai chi eno maho luak pi dwe manok kala chien luak okwanye eno luak dong oduogo Vitto ike imwaga apara bongwen gi pier bich wa biro ma eno bedo ike wa imwaga apara bongwen gi pier abiro wi bich. Rod Vitto Aburi omako luak pi mwaga apa wiye aboro we gonna Chaka gi 1957 we 1975. Okay. Muhammad ma Rod Vitto tie ike obedo bene mwaga man onongo mun panyanya gigamente mi Sudan tie madit dana mapol orwenyo kwa megi imun man. Dana mokene ma odong ma kwa ikin mwaga apar bongwen gi pier bichel wangwen wi apar bongwen gi pier bichel wa bichel. Gino ringo waka i Uganda kama gin onongo Rod Mathia Aburi Lolori maneno ringo chon tie ka charo book igang leha pa Katolika magi luongo Catholic Church Holy Rosary Glue i Uganda. En bene oneno Rod Mathia i Gulu i karma anvena neno Rod Mathia i Gulu i karma tie ka Kwan Lacho Seminary. Okay. So, at some point, ma Vitto gidano, I think giringo Uganda, I think Vitto ringo gidano in 1975. At that point, Emilio omahoke for 2 years. Lakin dano pole nungi pegi ringo giti Uganda. Okay, Emilio Latina Abong lakin Lotini peg lineage mi chiefdom. Gamente mamiro kira eno British kimiro kira en ni law ke mono gikena election. Akin dano kwera hani no Vitto mamiro bedi. So Vitto bero madano ringa Uganda gimuon. I guess no Vitto ringa gidano wen cause okero Emilio 1975 to 1977. Lakin information pe kida manong Emilio bero kenini dano ringa hani. Okay. So ginge 1977 no manena ningani Mathia Aburi Lolori madoki ke kono ngoti Uganda ba ne onongo ti Gulu kuja ti gina Catholic Church kuja kachara buke gonna kachara buke nganga gini. Okay. So now I'm skipping to Mathia Aburi Lolori because there's no information on Emilio for those 2 years. Achojo chone ngani kom lok Mathia ne Mathia dok pajo imoha apar bongwan gi piera biera we dek inge ma kero ching mikuch or peace agreement ya Addis Ababa Ethiopia imwaga apar bongwan gi piera biera we area. Excuse me. Gamente mi Southern Sudan o mio chikni dano duju ma ringo mun ilobo ma pat ni Chaka imwaga apara bongwan gi piera bich wa bich we apara bongwan gi piera biera we area miero bin odok itich megi machon. Okay. Acholi ma ringo, excuse me. Acholi mo ringo ilobo mo kiene o Chaka duro pajo. Okay. Excuse me, please. I need a second. And there goes my son. Okay, I hope you guys can hear me now. So, dano Chaka duro pajo. Okay? Road Mathia Aburi Lolori bene a duro pajo in Mohaman. Okay? Kidma gamente dong o mio chikni ngara chiel miro doki tit mere. Pilokman o wera luak mi o bodong o duro Road Mathia Aburi Lolori tit mi road in Moha a par bongwen gi piera biro wabiche. Okay? Mohaman bene chik onongo pe tie Kidma yang ikarma nyoma pa British Piman kwa no I'm sorry ikarma yang ikare pa British Piman kwa dorotek bod rori duchu mi acholi don wajini rori dong pe gichulu muchoro ikin due Kidma yang muni timo met ikom man muchara bene dong per romo ruri Kidma will ichuk ochiro malo. Okay? Rodia chulio bero dano ma twingi chi total ginpe miro gamo ayal wang nyo bribery gi bot luak pien man teach me buomi. Okay? Man bene on nyuru bot wa pingo team log man ni bribery pere gi Leb Acholi. Okay? Gi kwar bribing gi corruption ma British gi Chaka cherone gi pedong they're not even collecting tax anymore and contributions gi chamo dano ko kin ma British merone gi abuse dano wala gi be corrupt gi tema donko mo ha par bon wan gi pier bor wi dek lwen pa John Gering de mabio o chahe is Southern Sudan ma Nick Omero obedo duong excuse me ikindano lwen man ogwaho kabedo mi Equatoria para Alcazar gi Upper Nile Road Mathia excuse me for a second okay okay so Road Mathia ma nana pin opore makwa gi loin oboro gang obo ochere Juba gigu maraj tuo o maka Road Mathia omero gi nere idwe mi ario mwaka apar bongwen gi pier boro ya biro igang pa Justice John Onge idwe mi ario man John Onge onongo chiro wako iyweyo in Nairobi, Kenya. Kidma abero kaneno kwere onongo ni ke mi Abong ilobo Obbo ogiki karma Road Mathia Aburi Lolori oto. Okay. I hope I'm not delayed. Is my video delayed? It seems like it is. I hope you guys can see me clearly and I hope you can hear me. It's a little bit jumpy. Okay. So the writer believes when Mathia dies, that is the end of the Abong chiefdom, as it truly was, through that lineage of that one family in Abong. Okay. Mind you, at this time, we're skipping over the fact that in 1969, Chief Aburi died in Uganda too. Chief Aburi died, and none of his children brought his body back to Obbo. That was the end of that, and he didn't pass on the traditional Kidi Kot to anybody to appoint them as chief. So all of these chiefs after Aburi, Chief Aburi, his kids, whoever, they were appointed by the British or through their DCs. So, okay, paramount chiefs, district commissioners, they were not appointed through their traditional ceremonies as it should be. Okay, so they were not truly honored as true chiefs. Okay, so now Mathia Lolori, son of Aburi, dies in Juba in the home of Justice John Onge when John Onge was in Kenya. So he died alone in that home. But so the writer is saying that that was the end of the true chiefdom of Abong chiefs. The rest who comes after Mathia Aburi Lolori are appointed by the British or become chiefs through appointment, not through the traditional sense. So, and they're not from Abong. They're from Loudo, another subclan of Abong. So, which can't be because chiefs can only come from one family. Okay. Tapa ruod Mathia omero kelo apoka kin lotin Abong Mathia Juba. Log me a chiel ochaga e ma dano. That didn't sound right. A chiel ochaga e ma dano tie ka yik. Kid ma chick mi kwaro pa choli miro. Inyim choro ngom. Iwi lato latin nyo lotino miro obol ngom iwi. Okay. Ichawa man mi yik Latino mi remo parod Mathia onongo pere. Okay? Anangie ma beni rod Mathia man omin wora. Ma an bene atuero lungoni wora. Ada lo diro bo Mathia kenyu. Owachini miero abol ngom iwi rod Mathia. E karama atiro bolongom iwi rod Mathia, Cornelio Odera, Openyelwa Gidwan ma malani, Saturnino Onyala, Woodpak Cassiano o Team Onyala, Kono bolongom iwi rod Mathia machalo anga. Okay. Aunyo lokman ento pe agamo iye gin ma mo omere ki wood mera ki iwi liel kid ma chikwaro pa chuli wajone atin ma bolongom iwi lato miro chit pajo labong neno ngeye adok pajo kalachen apor lukman bod Dominic liling gi falabiano loon wan duchu chwinywa pe obero yo ikom lokpa Cornelio Odia. So the writer here is telling us that he is the nephew of Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori, that at the time of his death, his children needed to throw dirt on the grave. Okay, that's the traditional process in our burial ceremonies. The children of the deceased, must throw dirt on the grave, and they must keep walking and not look back. So because he did not have any of his children present in Juba at the time of his burial, the writer, Saturnino Onyala, Ola Onyala, was the only next of kin. Okay? He writes here that his father is the brother of Mathia Aburi Lolori. Okay? Is he the son of Onyala, the one that Chief Aburi sent to rule Lacham, Obbo Lacuc. Saturnino Onyala, if you're watching, sorry if my question is not clear. Are you the son of Onyala, the brother of Aburi, that was sent to Lacuc, me Obbo Lacuc? I mean, Obbo Lacuc. No, Obbo Lacuc, I'm sorry. So anyways, he said that his father is the brother of Mathia. He said his father, his father is the brother of Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori. So he was the only next of kin there, and they asked him to throw the dirt on her grave. And then when he was doing that, somebody named Cornelio Odia said that it was not right, that he was given that right because he was not family. But because he was not able to speak, you have to throw the dirt and walk away. You turn your back, throw the dirt towards the back. We did that when my mother died. You throw it back and you don't look back. You keep walking forward and you go home. You can't look at the grave, basically. So anyways, somebody was questioning who he was and why he was doing that and why he was allowed to do that. So anyways, I wonder if he's part of the Abong family, Abong chiefdoms. Okay. Lokmi area obino ikom lokmi kabero madano miro ogo iliel pa Rod Mathia. Rod Mathia ota igangpa Justice John Onge Kasiba. One young mabene carry bed ono John tie ijuba liel pa Rod Mathia pori pe gituero gero ne igang mere. One wangie mabene Marcelo dia ma eno bedo omin Mathia madid en bene okwerni liel pa Rod Mathia pe miero ogo igang mere. Eno mere gi wacho ni ka Lotino Abong miro goro liel pa Rod Mathia gin twero goro ne igang mo keken ento pe igang mere. Lukman an la church mi bugman kachel gi Dominic Liling pe wanenon ki wang mabed man oweho wakero Marcelo Odia gi omine Cornelio Odera pin inge lok matek iwi Marcelo Odia eno chiro kapenyo tam padaho mere kasisha munying dane e karma kasisha onungoni Cornelio Odera bene ochung giwan ena daw yeni liel pa Rod Mathia Lolori o kobo hogi gang pa John Onge okel bot i hila buluk. Okay. So that's that. Mathia dies. That's the end of the chiefdoms under Abong. And this was during Anyanya 2. He dies in 1987 in Juba. And they had to fight over where they wanted to bury him. Who had the right to be at the funeral? Who had the right to organize the funeral and rights to basically select the burial site for the chief? I would assume that they could take his body back home, his home, and bury it, but I'm assuming because of war, it was not possible. Okay? So now, it ended with Mathia Aburi Lolori, he dies. Okay? But then now we see there was a 2 or 3 year period between the chiefdoms of Mathia Aburi Lolori and Joseph Atira. Why was Joseph Atira appointed in 1990? Okay, so the next section covers Joseph Atira, and then finally Benjamin Obol of Loudo. I'm just going to read those two paragraphs and I'm going to end it here. So then the following chapters or the following sections after Benjamin Obol of Loudo, these are just two paragraphs. The writer goes into how Abong was split up, how they divided themselves after or through that whole process from the beginning up until 2002 or 2005. I'm not going to go into detail reading about how Abong Opoka because I already read that already. Now he goes into further details discussing the same points. I'm not going to cover how Gipore again. I will read it at a later time. After I read about Benjamin Obol, Joseph Atira and Benjamin Obol, tomorrow, I won't have time tomorrow or Monday, maybe Monday night. Monday night, I want to jump to read briefly about what? Obbo Lacuc. Because I was reading Obbo Lacuc, right? No, I was reading. Let me see. Is this Obbo Lacuc or Obbo Lacuc? Anyway, I'm reading. Excuse me. So, anyways, I'm reading Obbo. I know I wasn't going to spend too much reading today. I'm reading the Abong side. I think it's Lacuc or Obbo Lacuc or Obbo Lacuc. Did I forget what side I'm on? Okay, I was reading Obbo Lacuc. Okay. On Monday night, I'm going to read briefly about what happened or what, and if there's any issues on the side of Obbo Lacuc. Obbo to the left. Okay, I want to see if there's anything interesting there. I'm going to spend just one night reading on Obbo Lacuc, okay, on Monday night. And then I want to jump from Obbo now to Pajok. Okay. The reason why I want to jump to Pajok is because I'm from Pajok. My dad is from Pajok. There's a lot of history there. And it was quite a bit of history in relationship between Pajok and Obbo. My mom is from Obbo, my dad is from Pajok. But I want to get to Pajok mainly because now I have some connections to some Pajok people and that I can ask questions. And hopefully they'll be able to clarify certain things. Right now, while I'm reading about Obbo, I don't have too many people that can give me answers about some questions that I may have about what I'm reading. But if I jump to the section on Pajok, I'm able to ask my dad. I'm able to ask members from our Pajok community. Okay, so on stay tuned on not Monday night. I'm gonna finish Obbo Lacuc, but maybe Tuesday or Wednesday night I will start reading about Pajok. Yay! Okay, so now we jump to Joseph Atira, 1990 to 2002. So when at the time when Anyanya 2 started, which was the Civil War, the Second Civil War of Sudan, 1983 to 2005. During Anyanya 2, by 1983, I was born in 1984 in Anyanya 2, and at that time, okay, Mathia Lolori came back from Uganda, and he was the chief of Obbo at that time. And so by the time he died in 1987, we were still living in southern Sudan. In 1987, we were living in Pajok, southern Sudan. At the time, I was born in Torit in 1984. That's where the LGC centers were, where the government center is for southern Sudan, how southern Sudan was governed through Torit. I was born in Torit at one of the major hospitals there. We moved to Pajok. You know, people were displaced during the war, and we ended up in Pajok, where we are from anyway. My dad is from Pajok. And Mathia Lolori dies in 87, but in Juba. This was still during the time of war. Some people were actually actively fighting in a liberation. So those who were fighting, they're moving around like our fathers, our uncles, grandfathers, great grandfathers, and some of us were left with our mothers, aunties, grandmas, you know, and all of the children were left. And but we were also displaced, constantly moving around within Pajak, within southern Sudan, constantly just looking for safety. But in 1987, when he dies in Juba, we were still in Pajak. Uh, we may move around to smaller villages during active war, but during ceasefire, we come back to Pajak. So in 88, in 86, my little brother Apo or Komol was born. And then 88, my youngest brother Moses was born. So that was a year after Mathia Lolori dies. Okay. So then in 88, we leave Pajok because of war. We went to Fogay first. Pogay, some people call it Pogay, some people call it Fogay. It's closer to Ngomoromo or the border there. And eventually we end up being ambushed and we run into Kidgum all by ourselves. I ran into Uganda by myself in 88. Um, anyways, while all this is happening at the end there, at the end of the 1980s, we ended up in Uganda. So by the time Joseph Otira was installed in 1990, most of the Acholi people, including the Obbo people, were in regional countries in refugee camps. Very few were still inside southern Sudan. So it's very interesting that John Otira was installed in 1990 to 2002 for the very few people that were left, if any, in southern Sudan at the time. Okay? So Joseph Otira was installed 1990 to 2002. Wallahi, okay? Okay? O Johnny ngani. Imoha apar bong wan gi pier boro ya biro. Mon pa John Gereng de mabio o pogolwak mi obo. Ia adek. Dana mo kene o ringo e Uganda. Dana mo kene o gaki kane itim. Ka dana mo kene o ringo i Juba. Dana ma o ringo i Juba imoha apar bong wan i pier bong wan. Gin o yero Joseph Otira, wod pa o yoro yot, mi logolo obed rot, kid ma jo o bodong pere gi rot. Mana ye kid ma rot o a kwere ki dok ot mi Abong o chiro kwere i logolo. Jo Abong o mako ke mi obo pi mwaka ma duong. O chak ngo mia apara biro we apar bon wen gi piera bor we abichel. Dok od mo idio bo ma tuero ma holwa kit ma man pere. Man bene nyuru bodwa pingo lotino muru bodwa pingo lotino obo matie i Juba imoha apar bon wen gi piera bon wen wa beach gino no miro ni Fred owoti latin agigi parura buri o mahike parod. Okay. So a lot of people left. People are displaced living in Juba in different pockets. hiding basically. But the Obbo still wanted to make sure there's a chief in Southern Sudan. It's saying that the Abong people didn't want Joseph Atira to be placed as the next chief. They wanted one of the last son of Chief Aburi, Fred Owoti, to be the chief, to basically continue on with the custom and the tradition through the same lineage. But for some reason, Kari bet Kidman, Wan Puri, Watuero, Wajani, Inge Topa Road Mathia Lolori, Man Dongo Bero, Agigimi Ke Pa Abong, Ingamobo. Why? Because now Joseph Atira Notie from Logolo, I'm sorry. He's from the side of Logolo. Drop your comments if I'm saying that wrong. And then from Joseph Atira in 2002, Wabino Ngadong, Benjamin Obol Miludo. Mama, okay. Okay. But you know about Benjamin, Ningo. Luen pa John Gerang de Mabio, Mo Chaka Imoha, a par bon one gi pira borwia dek, o gigwaha imoha, Ilebario, Giwia Beach. Makun Lobo, Kero Ching P, Comprehensive Peace Agreement, CPA, e Nairobi, Maubero, Ikin, SPLM, Gigamente, mi Sudan. Okay. Imara, Ilibario, Giwia Bichel, Malotino, Bo, Duropajo, Gay, Uganda, Gino Nongoni, Rora Bong, Modong, Pere, Mamiro, Hotel Luak, Gino Kero Benjamin Obol, Woodpa, Abola, Miloudo, Obed Road Bo. Dano Kero Road Benjamin Obol, Ke, Mi Road Pien, En Yang, Obedo, Mokongo, Iloudo, Mokungu, Iloudo, Ikare Pa Road Mathia Aburi Lolori. Gin mi ario, ma oweholwa okero Benjamin Obol, Ike, Pien, and Mukungu, Achiel, Keken, Maudong, Ma Kwa Gikin, Mokungo. What is that word anyway? Drop your comments, guys. I'm sorry. Ma Neno Kwa kin Kwango Ma Neno Obedo Itich. Luak Beneo Kero Mrs. Marcelina Adiero Obed Lawang Dock Road. Matien mi Achiel Madano mi Obbo Kero Daha Obed Lawang Road. Dano Wachini teach pa Road Benjamin Obol put tie ma be. Enter pe wangyo gin ma anyim. An bene atamone kala tina bong mo onyure ya nyim mamiro bedo Road. Ageno ni Jo Bo bikwanyo ngad ma tie ike gin dwaka Road bot Abong kima yang chon. Okay, agi kanyo. So it's the end of the chiefdoms. Mathia Lolori dies as the last chief. Even though the last born of Chief Aburi was alive somewhere, they appoint Joseph Atira from Logolo from 1990 to 2002, while there were no Abong people because of the war. And then later they appoint, in 2005, they appoint Benjamin Obol from Loudo. Okay, when they came back from Uganda, they couldn't find any members of that community. However, they claimed that if they ever come across anybody from that lineage, they will put them back on the throne as a chief. But in the meantime, they chose somebody who served the chiefdom during the time of Chief Mathia Lolori. Okay, so they put Benjamin Obol from Loudo. Okay, so on Monday, I'll start reading briefly, just a quick synopsis of Obbo Lacuc, Monday night, okay? And then from there, I'll start reading about Pajok, starting sometime next week, because there's more detail about what happened in Obbo, okay? But I'm going to jump from there and go back to Pajok. And in due time, when I have the time, I will come back and read more in detail about what happened in Obbo. But now we know exactly what happened up until this point with the chiefdoms, okay? And how people were displaced because of the war. Anapoa Matek. Now, my people who speak only English, I read quite a bit about the remaining rule of Obbo under about 3 or 4 other chiefs. After Chief Aburi, no, I'm sorry, after Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori, okay, because of the civil war in Sudan, there was a lot of challenges in southern Sudan, and then the British basically also wanted the Arabs out of Sudan, and some of the Arabs who had marketplaces, who were working in marketplaces or had storefronts in marketplaces or selling in southern Sudan, were no longer safe after the war broke out between the north or the government and the people of the south, the indigenous people, basically. So some Arabs did kill a lot of the indigenous or the blacks or the southerners, okay? So those who felt uneasy, the Arabs who are still in southern Sudan or in Abong, who were afraid for their lives, they needed refuge. They needed a place to hide while they were in the south or while they were in Abong. One of them went and hid at the chief's house because they used to have this rule that if you were ever in danger and you felt somebody wanted to harm you, or even if you were a fugitive, I would think, you can seek refuge by going to the chief's house. So this one Arab guy went to hid at Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori's house, even though he wasn't home, but he thought he would be safe there. They placed him on top of the roof of the chief's home where nobody can reach him or see him. But the Obbo people knew he was hiding there. So when the government came looking for this guy, some Obbo people who wanted to kill him came looking for this guy because the Arab's a brother to this Arab guy did kill somebody before, and they were looking for him. Excuse me. So they came looking. They heard he was there. They came looking, and nobody wanted to turn him up. And when they threatened to kill off everybody there, the locals did give up his location. And they took this Arab guy and they went and shot and killed him in front of everybody. So then when the British government, or from the LGC in Torit, the government officials or DC, they came to find out about what was going on in Obbo and what they heard. And when Mathia Aburi Lolori came back, he said, no, nothing really happened. He knew what happened, but he needed to contain it. Now, mind you, the British were very serious about how well the chiefs can govern their local communities, okay, their territories. So he wrote it off and said, nothing really happened. Nothing happened here. It was just a misunderstanding, but nothing really happened. Mind you, this guy was murdered basically on his land. So anyways, he eventually runs off to Uganda, while the war broke out or whatever. I think I'm jumping around too much. Turbuzio was in power very briefly, but he couldn't handle it after Mathia Aburi, and they put Vitto back. And Vitto was only in power for about 11 years. Um, and then Emilio was put against Mathia on a ballot from 1975 to in 1975 they were on the same ballot, but Emilio won, but the people refused and said that no, Mathia Lolori is one on one. That's the person they want. So Mathia Lolori was back in power, though Emilio was officially the person who won the election. So it says here that he was unofficially a chief, but there was no information on it. He was just a chief for 2 years, but the people only recognized Mathia Aburi Lolori as a chief. Up until 1987, when he dies, and I mean, he doesn't die right in a ball. He runs off to Juba during the war. He dies in Juba, and they couldn't figure out where to bury him. There's a huge dispute, and we find out that the writer of this book that I'm reading to you guys is akin to Chief Aburi and his children, and Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori, son of Chief Aburi. So he claims Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori was his uncle or his father's brother, that he had the right to, participate in the traditional burial of Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori. Anyways, after that, after he dies, Mathia Aburi Lolori was the last Abong chief. All the chiefdom of this clan, the whole of Obbo, came from only one subclan, which is the Abong people, from just one specific family. From the Omini and Imai time. It was passed down through Chogbe and Aguinya all the way down to now Mathia Aburi Lolori. They've all been one family, one blood, from one clan. After Mathia Aburi Lolori dies, that ends that tradition, and then eventually because people left during the Civil War in Sudan in 1987. By 1990, they put Joseph Otira, who is not from Abong. He's from Logolo. He was in power only for 3 years. And then there's another grace period. There's a period between 2002 and 2005 when some of the Abong people returned, but not all of them, and they couldn't find their chiefs or people from that family. They appointed Benjamin Obol in 2005, but Benjamin Obol is from Loudo, a completely different subclan, and they are not meant to be chiefs, basically. They're not from the same lineage. But the Obbo people today are saying that if any Abong, any son of Abong were to ever come up and say they wanted to be chief of Obbo, they would have the right over any other subclan because the chiefdom belongs only to the Abong people. Okay, so I'm leaving it there. The writer writes more in depth about the Abong and the Obbo people. Basically going more into detail about everything that I've been reading about Obbo, but I don't want to go back and read everything else again in detail as he goes further into detail, because I think I spent quite a bit of time reading about Obbo Lacuc. Next Monday, I'm reading about Obbo Lacuc because Obbo was divided into two by Chief Aburi because it's so large. So I've been reading about the Obbo people and their rule and issues on the left side, Lacuc. I want to cover very briefly about what happens if there's anything at all on Obbo Lacuc or Obbo to the left. Okay. on Monday night. Okay, in 2 days' time, I will be airing. And then after Monday night, I'm going to maybe take a break and jump away from this clan. I want to go to Pajok and read about Pajok. Pajok is another Acholi clan in southern Sudan, where I'm from, where my father's from. And they have a lot of sub-clans also within Pajok. I'm jumping there because I want to ask those people from Pajok that I know who are still alive to give me some clarification about certain things I will be reading while they're still here, including my father, who is very old. I want to make sure that I can discuss with him some of the stuff I'm finding through this reading and see what he can add. And also some people who I know from our Pajok group to see if they can add anything to what I'm reading, or, because this is just a learning platform and I want to make sure I have all the information, not only for me to learn through, but also for you guys to learn from, and grow as a community, learning about Acholi culture, Acholi language, in our history. Okay? And Matek, this was a very long recording, a very long video on Jackline Ikang man Leb Acholi, and man segmenting of Kwan Leb Acholi. Please like, comment, share, follow us on Facebook as Chaka Leb Acholi. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as Chaka Leb Acholi. I'm also on Facebook as Chaka Ikang South Sudan, where I also post content. And I am also on TikTok posting snippets as Chaka Ikang South Sudan. Ana po Matek Jo Acholi, my audience, Luo, non-Luo, Africa, everybody. I'm really happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're watching. Please stay tuned. I'll be reading on Monday. Thank you so much. Apo Matek.